Good morning to everybody. How you doing? Hope all's well. Keep up the beautiful work. Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach. Today is Friday, Parashat Shemini. We're getting closer to Rosh Chodesh, Monday, Tuesday. The EGs come out of the woodwork on Monday, Tuesday. That's when you could take a haircut according to their custom and a shave. And if someone really, really, really has to shave, then there's what to rely on Monday and Tuesday. Be'ezrat Hashem. But of course, for specifics, ask your local rabbi, 1 800 PayPal. I mean, 1 800 callyourrabbi.com. Anyway, good things always, Be'ezrat Hashem. So before we begin today's featured presentation, a couple of disclaimers are necessary. Number one, this is the week where some people would like to make the chali with the key inside of it or in the shape of the key. And then all of a sudden you have people calling Chaverim, Shomrim, Shmira, the SWAT team. They're even calling El Chapo and his gangs. Why? Because who is my neighbor? Who does he think he is? His wife's making the chali with the key. How dare they? So we have a couple of disclaimers. Number one, the rule of thumb is we don't worry about other people's religion. You worry about their physical needs and your own religion. If the guy next door has a problem paying his Amex bill, all of a sudden we're quiet. It's his problem. But when he makes Chali with the key, Uli, we're getting the firing squad. There's hostages in captivity for almost 600 days. Shema Israel. Israeli soldiers are being Shema Israel. I don't even want to say it. Our nation is at war. Our people need Mashiach. There are people sick. But what's bothering people? Who are they to do it? So, number one, the rabbi who brings it down. Yaret, we could walk on the same dirt that he walked. He was a very, very holy malach. Who am I to say? He was known as the Abdurav, and he was known also as the Ohev Yisrael because he loved everybody. It's a shame that something that he said makes sin'ah Israel. Forgive me for saying, but once met a guy. It was further than Neverland. I think it was planet Pluto or Jupiter. But he starts yelling about the Chali. How could they do it? It's avodah zarah. Very nice. So I asked him straight out, Mamacita, are there certain sins? We're on a recording, so we can't be a little too graphic and specific. But could it be maybe that when you visit certain states in America, maybe you don't recycle the garbage like you should do? Are you behaving? And he said, I'll admit to you, yes, Rabbi. I said, so you're worried about the other guy making chali when you're doing one of the sins that a Jew has to give up his life for Shema Yisrael. That's point number one. We spoke about the rabbi, the Ohev Yisrael. There's a very scary story. Now is not the time, but one time he was a rabbi of a city and he had to bring testimony for a certain story, and believe it or not, and this is documented in legitimate, of course, Sefarim by great tzaddikim that documented it. And inside in the story, it says that he needed someone to testify. He was able to bring someone from the next world. Imagine, and he's the one who tells us this. So yes, some people will say, "I want to see him do it," etc. Number two, like we said, if it's brought down by tzaddikim, who is the source of the one who says it's avodah zarah, the ways of the goyim, etc.? There is no one, as you all know, that the greatest thing in my life was Chacham Ovadia Yosef. We were lucky to be in the same world as Chacham Ovadia Yosef. Chacham Ovadia Yosef studied and had 45,000 sefarim in his home. Imagine, he never wasted a second. He once fell on the floor from 2 in the morning. He fell off his chair because he needed a book. His family was sleeping. He couldn't get up, and he learned till 6 in the morning. He was laying down on the floor, and Israeli floors are cold. What did he do? He pulled out his notes from his desk, and he was learning while he was on the floor. And Hamavadia himself had this chali. Imagine, yes, his son, the chief rabbi Hamid Hak Yosef, also had the chali a couple times. So even though they're not going to have it every year, but it's a cute thing to do. You want to do it, you don't want to do it. But when other people don't do it, we can't say it's avodah zarah. Is Hamavadia going to have avodah zarah? Is Hamid Hak Yosef going to have avodah zarah? All of a sudden, we're becoming the greatest rabbis in the whole world. And BTW, right? We still do what we do on Mother's Day. We honor our mothers. And also, I teach the kids in school BTW. I don't like Mother's Day. It's one day a year that's Mother's Day. Every day of the entire Jewish calendar, any calendar, is Mother's Day. Obviously, every moment is Mother's Day. There was a rabbi in the Gemara, his mother forgot her slippers. She was about to put her feet onto the floor. Back then, they had sand floors. He dove into first base. Heck, he slid and he put his hands on the floor that my mother's feet are going to touch the sand. So, of course, we honor our mother 24/7, 365. But it was brought down. And I'm not here to say halacha. Yes, halacha, ask your local rabbi. But we have great rabbis that were in our midst, that paved the roads in our community, that told me that Mother's Day stemmed from the avodah zarah of you know whose mother, Yeshu's mother, believe it or not. So I'm not here. Some people say Hallmark, but if a great rabbi that we're all learning Torah because of him. He said that, and we're all religious because of him, and we all have yeshivot because of him, and all the rabbis of that time. If he says it, so we can't say we're smarter and say it's Hallmark. He said it, and we still do Mother's Day, and we're still doing it, no problem. So over there, you have great people saying it's avodah zarah, and people are still doing it, and over here, you have great people telling you to do it, and people decide to say that it's avodah zarah. If someone does it, ahlan or sahlan. Some people say, but it's the Ashkenaz way. There are more Syrian kids eating cholent on a Thursday night than the Ashkenaz themselves. The Sephardic are eating cholent, and the Ashkenaz are eating kibbeh lahamajin. That's what unity is all about. Yishtambach shemo la'ad. But there's nothing wrong with asking for a little bit of help for parnasah. We honor Ashkenaz rabbis, we honor Sephardic rabbis. If a guy he's good, he doesn't need a segula for parnasah. Bijenen, inshallah keeps coming. But the last time I checked, the average guy that's out there needs a little boost in the parnasah. Hella, we have the tariffs, we have the batichis. One egg is $98. So we want a bit of for parnasah. So it's something that's brought down. If you want to do it, do it. But of course, we don't go wild when other people do it. Some people are screaming bloody murder when they celebrate Thanksgiving, where the rabbis, 99% of the rabbis tell you no. Mother's Day, like I told you, they say has a source, but they're doing that. But the guy with the chali, I wouldn't walk on the same street as that guy. Who does he think he is? We fix ourselves before we fix others. And like I said, Hamavadia Yosef had it. Once you hear that, there's no more questions. The buck stops here. Like I said, I could talk about Hamavadia for the next 90 million hours without stopping. Yishtabach Shemo La'ad. So if you bump into someone from Wisconsin or Never Neverland that starts to kill Hazid, his neighbor, that's having trouble paying his Amex bill, and he wants a segula for parnasah, tell them, leave the guy alone. If you really care about him, then do me a favor, help him pay his Con Ed bill, help him pay his gas bill from the winter. Don't be a hero and start worrying about his soul. Sometimes in school you have a kid hazit. Some kids like to eat. I know the feeling in school. Heck, you got to wait 9 hours till the next snack. Today, by the way, the kids, it's a little different. They have a whole smorgasbord on the desk. The year 2025, the kids do what they want to do. But anyway, at least back in the day, a kid would be eating hazit in class, sneaking. First of all, when they used to sneak in front of me, I used to tell Baba, what are you doing? You think I can't see what you're doing? I'd rather you just take the chip out and put it in your mouth. Don't yawn and cover your mouth and start swallowing potato chips. That's point number one. Point number two, you always have the kid who loves to tell, Rabbi, he's eating. Oh, okay. So I call the kid over and I say, you're telling me that he's eating. Why? Because you care about him, right? You want him to follow the rules in school and you love him. Yes, 100%, Rabbi. I love him and I want to help him. Great. I said, do me a favor, go get me your briefcase. What do you need my briefcase for? Get your briefcase. He gets the briefcase and I open it up and I find the Pringles, the sour sticks. I take out the Pringles and I call the other kid that he's tattletaling on. I say, Rohi, come have some Pringles. What are you doing? That's my snack. But you love him. Don't you love him? You care about him. Don't you care about him? Mama, if you can't give him your Pringles because you want it for yourself, so don't tell me you care about him, Batich. Anyway, like we said, we leave people alone. We don't have to scream bloody murder. Let's fix ourselves before we fix others. Also, rule number two that we mention all the time, when you have a tzedakah box with only a couple of coins in it, it makes a lot of noise when you shake it because it's empty. But something that's filled to the gills, filled to the brim with rim to the brim with brim, then it doesn't make noise because it's filled. Someone who makes a lot of noise, it's because there's not a lot of coins in there. There's not a lot of wisdom. But if someone's just cool, calm, and collected, and they're quiet and they're content, that's someone with real wisdom. So that's disclaimer number one, understanding where they get the source of the reason for the key in the Chali, why it's a segula for Parnasa. Simple. We were in Mitzrayim. We came out Pesach time. Thank you, Hashem. We were in the desert with Moshe Rabbeinu for 40 years. Imagine 3 million Jews come out of Egypt, and Hashem has to feed 3 million Jews. By the way, he's feeding the entire world 24/7. God bless. Noten lechem l'chol basar. He's worried about the worms. Every egg has food in it. That's what a yolk is. The yolk doesn't turn into the chick. There's a little tiny dot. If you look at a yolk, I like Kinder eggs. Those are my favorite eggs. But when you look at the chicken, the egg, there's a tiny white dot on top of the yolk. That's what turns into the chicken. The yolk is the food for the chick while it's in the egg, and that's why it turns yellow. It's eating yellow protein for the past who knows how long he's in there. So he comes out looking yellow, and then he turns whatever color he turns. But anyway, imagine a louse. Not the louse that your Mora called you in third grade. What are you, a louse? Hasva halila. We don't know from those things. But a louse has an egg. Mi betze kinim. Lice have eggs. Imagine how tiny a lice is. Soon is going to be lice checks in the schools because whenever the kids, mashallah, go to Punta and they go in the sand, they got to get the lice check. And BTW, from an inside source in the Mossad, a lot of mothers take their kids the night before just in case that the next day they don't want their kid to be the one that has lice. Hazit, they pick up a helicopter, they put the kid on the roof. Hazit, they have to vacuum out because imagine Hazit, he has lice. It's a horrible feeling. But anyway, Shem should watch us all. But a louse is in an egg. And since it's in an egg, imagine how tiny it is. Imagine how the food that Hashem is giving to that louse inside the egg. Mi betzeh kinim, Hashem is sustaining the entire dunya. When my father, and we will talk about Rabbi Miller momentarily, because today is his yard site, 27th day of Nisan, Alav Shalom. 27 is Chav Zayin, which spells Zach, which is pure. Could you get purer than Rabbi Miller? And when my father, who was like a son to Rabbi Miller, would walk in the street with him. So one time there was a supermarket or something that had a sign, shrimp like on sale. And my father, there's a big picture, and my father says, a little ew type thing. And Rabbi Miller says, you cannot say that. Hashem is feeding the entire world. So yes, they eat shrimp. We eat kibbeh hamajin. Everyone has their food, but Hashem is giving food to the entire universe. So there were 3 million Jews in the desert. There's no Uber Eats in the desert. There's no Instacart in the desert. There was no Meal Mart ready meals in the desert. What did 3 million Jews eat? Hashem sent down the man every single day for 40 years. Imagine the Jews had hot, fresh bread. Even the women who won't eat carbs nowadays would eat the man because it was from Shemayim and it was 100% healthy, mafi carbs, mafi gluten, mafi this. It was bejenin. And it came down. We were sustained without having to go to work, sitting on your couch, and the money comes and the stimulus packages come, and you're able to live your life without having to go to work. When we came into Israel with Yehoshua ben Nun, it was Pesach. And usually, when you save man from day to day, it does not last. However, unless it was Shabbat. But over here, we took jars of man inside of Eretz Yisrael. It lasted for Pesach, and right after Pesach, it was over. Imagine a kid has his father's CC, he's swiping away, doesn't have a worry in the world about Bezat Hashem, your children with beracha, and everyone should have parnasah b'shefa. And then one day, this part we don't want. The father says, "That's it. I'm turning off that Amex. That's it. You're on your own." Kid's in culture shock. He doesn't know what to do. He has to start working. What is he going to do? We came. The Jewish people did not work while they were in the desert. It was called the Dor De'ah. They learned Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu. And when they came into Israel after Pesach, they had to start to work on their own. B'ze'at apecha tochal lachem. So now that they have to be on their own and start making bread after Passover, so they take the key of Hashem. We know Hashem does everything in the world, but he gave many of the keys, all of the keys, to angels to do many tasks. There are 3 keys that Hashem kept for himself: Parnasah, rain, and a child being born. So we ask, it's like making a prayer. Hashem, could we have your key for Parnasah? Eliyahu Navi was able to get the key from Hashem. He got the key from rain. Imagine he held on to the key that was Hashem's key. Not bad. So we're making a make believe item, a prayer. Hashem, the key that you have for Parnasah, please bless us with it. And bread is a sign of sustenance and Parnasah. And when it's for a mitzvah, how much more so? We have challah and Shabbat. So some people take the key, put it in the bread for Shabbat, or make it in the shape of a key, each to their own. But like I said, there's a lot more things to worry about out there before we worry about if the guy down the block, we should call the firing squad on him because he did the key chali. Let's worry about the people who don't have food, where we have to help. Let's worry about the people who are sick. We want to pray that there's no more stories that we'll hear, Shema Israel, car accidents, God forbid. We want to hear that the soldiers come home, the hostages come home. This is small change, and let's use our energy in other places. Point number one. Point number two, as mentioned, today is Rabbi Miller's yard site, Alav Hashalom. Rabbi Avigdor Miller, he changed the way Am Yisrael thinks. He passed away over 24 years ago, and every Shabbat in millions of shuls, thousands of shuls, you have his Divrei Torah on the table being printed. They have it in Spanish, they have it in English, they have it in Israel, in Hebrew. Yishtabach Shemo La'ad. Someone whose Torah is going so strong, there's only one answer to that. It's because they were so L'Shem Shamayim, doing things for the sake of Hashem, that their energy is still going on and on. Rabbi Miller was able to talk to anyone and prove to them that Hashem is the only God and He created everything. There are thousands of stories. It's recommended to read his books, a very staple book that he wrote. If you didn't read it, if you don't have it, you should get it. It's called Rejoice, O Youth. I saw one time in Wisconsin, there was a young boy who went to public school, and he was a genius of geniuses. And unfortunately, not because of money did he go to public school, because of whatever it may have been. And his inside wasn't ignited, and he had a lot of questions. And he hangs out with people who teach atheism, and he has these non-Jewish friends that disagree with him, and he was questioning. And I got him the book of Rabbi Miller, and all he did was read. He only went through like a third of the book, and he was already he had all his proofs and everything. We don't need proofs, Baruch Hashem. We have emunah pshuta, yishtabach shemo la'ad. But Rabbi Miller was the one that had common sense to prove to everyone that Hashem does everything, and yishtabach shemo la'ad. Here we are today, still talking about him. There was one time, my father, he should rest in peace, he went to his doctor. His doctor was Jewish, but his doctor, unfortunately, was an atheist. And after the checkup, he tells my father, Mr. Shelby, everything's okay. And my father said, Baruch Hashem, thank God. And the guy says, you really believe? And there's a regular Jewish person with a Jewish last name. It wasn't a Whoopi Goldberg Jewish last name. It was a last name Jewish guy. And he says, you really believe? He says, I'm in medicine, I'm in science. Do you really want to say all of that? Heck, it's not true. And my father starts arguing with him. Now, anyone who knew my father knows you don't argue with my father. But anyway, my father couldn't prove him medically and scientifically. So my father says, listen, I don't know all of the stuff you know, but one thing I do know, I have a Rebbe. I would love for you to meet him. And he says, I would love to meet him. He thought he was going to disprove the rabbi. And when he met Rabbi Miller, with his wisdom, he memorized. Remember when we were kids, there was a Webster's dictionary, heck, 6 feet tall, that every letter had to have that little indentation. It had the paper of the phone book. I never knew there were that many words in the whole world from all the languages. And he memorized that in the restroom. Why waste time? He finished Shas once a year. Now we can't do this. We can't try this at home. But he read all the books of all the religions, and he writes disproving all of them. Imagine. So it's recommended to read Rejoice, O Youth, just to see some of his wisdom. But he wrote many, many books. And if you can't read the book, at least in shul during the rabbi's sermon, instead of namming, pull out the Rabbi Miller pamphlet that they have and start reading. So my father brings him to the rabbi. The rabbi tore him apart with his wisdom. And at that moment, he became a religious Jew. He said, I will follow Hashem. And my father donated the rabbi's midrash anonymously. And my father wouldn't like I'm saying that he donated stuff. But when Mashiach comes, he'll take off the belt, give me a etle. But at least for now, he sponsored the midrash anonymously in honor of this doctor. The doctor became a religious tzaddik, following the rabbi from A to Z. And one day he tells the rabbi, Rabbi, business isn't that great. So the rabbi said, listen, you're a doctor. He said, number one, when the customers call, do not say you have an appointment right away. He said, push them off for 2 weeks. Oh, we have an appointment in 2 weeks. When they hear that, they start saying, wow, this guy doesn't have an appointment for another 2 weeks. He must be the greatest. And he also said, each to their own, ask your local rabbi for business advice. He said, double your prices. For some reason, people think if something is double, it must be better. It has to be better. So they listened to the rabbi, and Baruch Hashem, he became a very, very successful student of the rabbi and a successful doctor as well. There's so much to talk about the rabbi, Yishtabach Shemo La'ad. Read one of his books. There's also somebody who condensed a lot of the rabbi's books into one book it's like computer programming for dummies type of book. It's called Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. If you want to get the abridged Kol Ram version, go take a look at that book. And you read the wisdom of the great Rabbi Miller, Alav Shalom, may his merit be a blessing for all of us. He had thousands and thousands of tapes. He invented Torah on recordings. He used to give classes, and my father, Alav Shalom, said, Rebbe, could we record your classes? And he said, yes. And they started recording Rabbi Miller's tapes. Growing up, we had machines bigger than a dining room table in the house. That was just to make copies of cassettes. Today, technology in 1 second, USB, and all of the above. But back then, it was like an old heke, a machine, two machines to make copies of tapes. They used to do it in my home, and God bless the rabbi used to make the tapes, and his wisdom went all over the world. And here we are today, gazillions of classes on websites, on Spotify, Yishtabach Shemo, all sprouted out from the great Rabbi Avigdor Miller's spreading the Torah in the world. We'll do a little parasha, Bezrat Hashem, Parashat Shemini. We're going to skip to the end of the parasha where it talks about the kosher animals, the signs for kosher animals, the signs for kosher fish, what to look for in a bird, etc. Number one, we mentioned this in the past, it's worthwhile of repeating. Why is it that a kosher animal has to have split hooves and chew its cud? The answer is because the split hooves are on the two front feet, and that's a sign of progressing, of going with the times, of going forward. But the chewing its cud is regurgitating, eating the past, meaning we live on the tradition. So a Jew has to go forward with the times, but also it must hold on to the tradition all the way back from our fathers, grandfathers, from Har Sinai and Moshe Rabbeinu, Yishtabach Shemo La'ad. If there's one without the other, obviously it's not kosher. The PIG sleeps with his legs out, heke, to show, look, I have split hooves, I'm kosher, but his insides is a disaster. Why don't we look at a camel as gross as we do the PIG, the pig? And the answer is because the Torah does not like fakers. That's why Esav, his animal that represents him, is the Hazir, is the pig, because he makes believe and Esav made believe, but we knew what Esav really was. Hashem likes the truthful people, the ones who don't do one thing on the outside and one thing on the inside. And therefore, that's why that animal is a little gross. But when Mashiach comes, there's not going to be shekir in the world anymore. It's going to be one big world of truth. So believe it or not, it's going to become. Don't tell this to the wrong guy from Johannesville, USA, because he's going to say, well, if one day it's going to become kosher, maybe I'll start eating it from now. Has v'halila v'has. But boy, that's why it's called the hazir, because hozer, it will return to being in the status of being kosher. But the other animals, like we know, there are animals with split hooves that chew its cud. The deer, even though we're not used to eating it, some restaurants do have the venison steak, and a giraffe is kosher. And many people say because the neck is too long, the rabbis don't know where to slaughter it. The answer is they do know where to slaughter it. But I think having an oyster steak and a surprise steak and a rib steak will taste better. Hazit Jeffrey the Giraffe from Toys R Us. Why kill him? Why eat him? The goyim don't eat giraffes either. So therefore, it's not something that people eat, and therefore we don't eat it. It's a question if you need a tradition to eat it as well, or that's only with a bird. The Torah gives us a whole list of birds that are not kosher. However, there's a question if it's not on that list, not the Passover list where people allow you can have anything in the USA, the list in the Torah. And there's a question: are other birds kosher or not if they're not on the list? And it's a safek. However, we don't eat them. We only eat a bird that we have a tradition to eat. We eat duck. We eat quail is kosher, pigeons, birds, chicken, etc., and all of the above. Turkeys. There are people that don't eat turkey because they say it's an American bird. How did we have a tradition in the old country? But Hamadia himself had turkey as well because there were similar birds that was from the turkey family in the old country. There are also people today that don't eat chicken, believe it or not. How come? There's a cartoon that there was a turkey hiding Thanksgiving time. He wants to be pardoned as well. He doesn't want to be the turkey on anyone's table, so he's hiding and he sees a chicken. He tells the chicken, "You don't know how lucky you people are. Look what they're doing to us." And the chicken says, "I guess you never heard of Shabbos. How you doing?" Baruch Hashem, there's billions of chickens all over the world. Hashem, like we said, gives parnasah to the whole world. Imagine there's a slaughtering house in Israel. They slaughter, God shall watch our people and our country. 21,000 chickens a day. That's just one factory. Imagine. Yishtabach Shemo La'ad. So there are some people who don't eat chicken today. How come? Because it's so mass produced that they can't just leave regular good old chickens in the factory. They need to make shelves, so they played with the DNA to make the chicken shorter. It's like Ronald Reagan has a famous joke that a farmer liked. His whole family had loved drumsticks, and there were three kids. So he decided to make a chicken out of. Would play with the DNA and make it three legs. So then they asked him what happened. He says because he has three legs, he runs so fast. Even Rocky can't catch him when he's trying to catch a chicken. Anyway, short story long, they say since it was played with and it's a new beriah, it's a new creation, so we don't have a tradition to eat that one because it's a new. So there are some people, but of course, all the rabbis we know, they have chicken, they eat turkey, and Baruch Hashem, they should eat with good health. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should see good things, and we should have the greatest Shabbat this Shabbat and every Shabbat, and we'll be zocher to have Be'ezrat Hashem the Yom Shekulo Shabbat with the coming of the Mashiach. Have the greatest day. Shabbat Shalom. Take care and bye.